A former Dollar General employee says unsafe conditions at stores isn't anything new, but it seems to be getting worse now. Concerns in the stores include carts and boxes that are blocking the aisles.
Yeah, the video there showing that off. Dawn Huey of Michigan says part of the problem is an overload of stock given to each store, but she adds that there's often not enough staff to handle the amount of product that's fully sent in.
It was always 3 part-time employees. We were told to not guarantee over 9 hours a week. That many hours, it's impossible to get everything done.
Dollar General has been fined more than $12 million since 2017. Now, Huey believes the company is more willing to fork over that cash than address their problems. There is now some new hope for teenagers that are struggling with their weight.
An obesity drug used by adults could also help adolescents. Kristen Dahlgren reports on the study that was done at the University of Minnesota.
As a teenager with a hormone disorder, Emily Zumo struggled with her weight.
I tried diets, I tried exercise. I'm in more sports than any other kid that I know, and nothing would work.
Her pain more than physical.
I constantly had a fear that society was just going to shun me, and it led to some serious depression.
So at 15 and around 250 pounds, she enrolled in a study for semaglutide, a drug already approved for weight loss in adults with obesity. Participants between 12 and 17 years old all received 12 weeks of lifestyle intervention and counseling throughout the study. 2 out of 3 were given the weekly injection, while others received a placebo.
It appears the results are even better than what we saw in the adult studies.
Over 16 months, participants on semaglutide lost an average of 14.7% of their body weight, or almost 34 pounds, while those on placebo gained an average 5 pounds. And waist circumference and cholesterol were all lower with semaglutide.
This is a big deal. We now can offer them tools that push back against their biology.
Semaglutide, marketed as Wegovy, controls insulin levels and can decrease appetite. It's expected to gain FDA approval next year for those 12 and up with obesity. For Emily, the value was more than the 75 pounds she lost.
I lost the weight, but I also lost the dread. It was like the weight off my back and my stomach.
She's now captain of her tennis team, gaining a new perspective when she finally got help losing weight. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
Now, insurance coverage can vary for that drug, which costs more than $1,000 a month. A West Fargo man asking for the city's help to make his neighborhood more safe.
That's right. Steve Narlock says a concrete excavating business moved to the other side of the river near him about 6 years ago, bringing what he says is a constant haze and toxic dust to that neighborhood.
Health-wise, you can't sit outside when they're grinding. You can't breathe. Your eyes itch all the time.
Narlock says he and his neighbors have spoken at city commission meetings, even called the police and the Environmental Protection Agency, all with no luck. City officials say they are reviewing the details to determine if there is an ordinance violation, but they say there are no citations at this time.
Well, hard to believe, but it's already time to think about snow covering fire hydrants. One local department looking for help, and they're offering a bonus.
And we'll have that story, plus vacating the Rose Creek Clubhouse. The city of Fargo is in need of a new tenant at its restaurant.